Welcome to Oklahoma Gardening. Today we kick off the show as we head to the Tulsa Garden Center to learn more about their tea garden. Former host Kim Holmes shows us her personal wildlife garden. Then we're joined by another familiar face as Laura Payne is back with another cool tool segment. And finally, I'll show you around the sensory garden at TBG. Underwriting assistance for our program is provided by the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing. Oklahoma Gardening is also a proud partner with Shape Your Future, a program of the Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust. Shape Your Future provides resources for Oklahomans to make the healthy choice the easy choice. Oklahoma Gardening's 50th anniversary. I love sharing with you guys the cool things that plants can do.
People in Oklahoma love their gardens.
I feel like this is the people's show.
We all know we're working towards the common goal, and that's to produce the best quality television and information for our audience. Today we're here at the Teaching Garden at the Tulsa Garden Center at Woodward Park, and joining me is Lee Taylor. We are in one of your favorite and my favorite gardens here, the herb garden.
Yeah, and outdoor kitchen. It is absolutely one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's just very quaint and charming, and just it's very cozy here.
Yeah, and it shows exactly what you can do in your own home.
Absolutely.
Home garden.
So one of the things we're here for is to see your tea garden.
Yeah, so the herb garden we theme every year, and tea is one of my favorite drinks.
Yep.
And so I was like, let's highlight all the tea traditions around the world.
Okay, so I know there's a lot of plants that you can put into water and kind of brew, but there's only one true tea plant, correct?
Yeah, so the true tea plant is Camellia sinensis,
Okay.
native to China, but of course is spread into many growing climates, including in India. So it is the only plant that if its leaves are present in the drink, you can then call that drink tea.
Okay.
Everything else is an herbal tea, an infusion, or we also call it a tisane, but you don't hear that word a whole lot.
Okay, all right. So this is the true tea plant here,
Yes.
and we've got it blooming, and it's the leaves that are used on that.
It is the leaves that are used, and actually all those types of teas that you hear about, black, green, oolong, are all the tea plant. They're just prepared in different ways that give them their kind of flavor that is individual to those preparations.
Now, I noticed you got these in pots. They're probably not the best suited to be planted outdoors here, right?
So Oklahoma's conditions are just a little bit too harsh, and also our soils tend to be more alkaline than acidic, and the tea plant really does prefer an acidic soil and does a lot better in that condition. These are also kind of at the edge of their hardiness zone here, and so without a little bit of protection, they could very well die over the winter time. And so to protect these, we keep them in pots and bring them into a sheltered spot over winter.
All right. So what are some of the other infusions that we can make here?
Yeah, so I actually want to bring us to our caffeine-producing plants because that's why I drink tea, is for a little bit of caffeine in the morning. But we actually, while this one's not native to the U.S., we have two that are native to the American continent. First, we have yerba mate, which is native to South America here. So a traditional drink is made from this, yerba mate or mate. It's traditionally drunk out of a gourd, either as a ceremony or just in a kind of hospitality.
Okay, so for our Halloween right now, we can get our gourds.
So, shared amongst groups of people, like one drink is passed around in a gourd to be shared. And then we have Yaupan holly, which is from the Southeast United States. And was traditionally used by the indigenous people of that area in a ceremonial drink.
Well, I know the species on this is vomitoria, and I've heard, so can you...
So it is called Ilex vomitoria, and that is because settlers observed people drinking this and then vomiting after drinking it. However, the compounds in this plant have been analyzed, and there's nothing that would cause vomiting in this plant. So it's likely that it was actually for those ceremonies combined with other herbs that caused that effect in the drinkers.
So both of these are in the holly family, right?
Yes, that's right. They're both Ilex.
Okay. And then what else do you have for us back here?
Yeah, so we have tons of different herbs from all over the world, Africa, Asia, Europe, more South American herbs, and then some native ones as well. Some that I'd like to highlight is Tulsi basil. which is available commercially as a tea. It's drunk to reduce stress and anxiety. We also have red clover, which has been shown in clinical trials to reduce hot flashes.
Okay.
And we've got some dried flowers to look at a little bit later. Roselle is a really cool plant. It's actually been shown to reduce blood pressure. And then another plant is bee balm. So that's our native. It's a fantastic pollinator plant.
Right.
And it's got a citrusy flavor. And it's been used to treat cold and flu.
Okay.
It was actually called number 6 by the Onada people because it was the 6th medicine given to them from the creator. So fantastic plant, really interesting drink. Would you like to try some out?
Sure, yes. That would
fantastic.
be great. So you've got some over here?
Yes.
Steeping?
Yes. So it is a little bit of a longer steep.
So, and this is, do you put it in fresh or?
Yeah, so this one can be used fresh or dried.
Right there. Okay. I love the color of it.
Yeah, isn't it pretty?
And then
And
this
so
is the red
that's
clover.
the red clover,
Okay.
yeah, dried. So the red clover, it's just the flowers you want to use, and
Okay.
you want to use them dried.
Excellent.
So that's one of the things you want to pay attention with teas is what part of the plant's used, when do you pick it, and how do you prepare it.
Okay, well, this seems to be glowing
Yes.
for us, so cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. That would be nice on a
Yeah.
cold fall
morning.
Yeah.
Cold, flu.
So obviously your garden is open to the public.
Yes.
Can they find more information on your
Yes,
website?
absolutely. So the garden is open Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 4, and then they should visit the TulsaGardenCenter.org to find out more about our programming.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lee.
Thank you so much.
One of the great joys of gardening is the abundance of wildlife that comes into our landscape with the plants we put in the ground. It's a pleasure to be back on Oklahoma Gardening as we celebrate 50 years. During my time as host, I welcomed a variety of guests from across the state to talk about gardening for wildlife. And I've adopted their lessons as I build my own home garden. And I've primarily focused on bringing in a lot of birds as well as pollinators. Now, every wildlife garden begins with 3 things: food, water, and shelter. And so as you design your garden, you want to think about those things. Let's start with shelter. If you look at any natural habitat, you find layers of vegetation. And this is true for forests as well as grasslands. So my garden, I'm mimicking the forest edge. And I start with an upper canopy of trees, step down to understory trees and shrubs, and then an herbaceous layer closer to the ground. Now, I started building this garden in 2021 after I lost a huge cottonwood tree to an ice storm, and I wanted to replace that with a tree that had great wildlife value, and for that, you cannot beat oaks. So we settled on a Shumard oak. It's relatively fast growing for an oak. It's also a really good urban tree if you're in an urban area and wanting to build a wildlife garden. I also have a black locust. This is one of the few trees that was here in this area. It was just Bermuda grass and a couple of trees. And unfortunately, it's slowly dying. So my plan is that over time, the Shumard oak will replace its canopy. In the meantime, the woodpeckers absolutely love it, and the spring blooms are incredibly fragrant and always buzzing with native bees. Next, we have a shrub layer, and here I have plants that have a different types of wildlife value, including shelter and particularly fruits. That's something I paid attention to because I'm really interested in attracting birds as well as pollinators. So on my right, I have an American elderberry. It's pretty much picked over now, but those summer fruits were a favorite of a variety of birds. Right now, this American beautyberry is at its prime, and those gorgeous purple fruits are going to feed catbirds, mockingbirds, wood thrushes, and other songbirds. Behind me, I have a leatherleaf viburnum, and I chose this one because it's semi-evergreen. It's really important to incorporate some evergreen structure into your wildlife garden, particularly to provide roosting sites over the winter. Now, in other areas of the landscape, I have hollies, and our entire property is bordered by red cedar. And that's where most of the nests in our landscape are found. The trees are always buzzing with birds, and those blueberries feed a variety of songbirds, of course cedar waxwings, but I've also seen cardinals, mockingbirds, and even yellow-rumped warblers feeding on those berries. And I have some milkweed here. It's not looking its best because it's done its job. It's fed the monarchs and a variety of other insects. I grow it also for the nectar-rich blooms, but this time of year, one of my favorite nectar plants is Greg's mist flower. And last year, there were at least half a dozen monarchs flocking to it as they migrated south for the winter. When we think about shelter in the garden, we want to think beyond just the leaf canopy. I left this pretty unsightly stand of Monarda here to demonstrate a different type of nesting site. This was hit pretty hard by mildew because it was so rainy this year, but that's okay. It's still going to demonstrate for us. If you cut a stem of Monarda, inside is hollow, and a variety of native bees and other insects actually nest inside the hollow stems. And so to create a nice nesting site, I'll just cut this entire stand back to a height of 12 to 24 inches. Now, of course, you need to let those stand the following year so they can continue to provide those nesting sites. But the new growth will grow in and hide the stems. I also use brush piles, or you could use piles of sticks, logs, even rock piles to create different types of habitat for wildlife. I've even seen toads underneath just a simple rock edge like this and accidentally disturb them during their winter's rest. Now, a lot of wildlife leaves our gardens in the winter. And right now, millions of songbirds are passing through Oklahoma on their way to their southern wintering grounds. And we can support those by planting native fruiting shrubs and trees. And one of my favorite for that is this Carolina buckthorn. It has these beautiful black berries. It also has nice glossy foliage, which is about to turn golden yellow for fall. So this is a wonderful plant to support our migrating birds. Let's go look at some plants that support migrating hummingbirds. 3 different species of hummingbirds migrate through Oklahoma. Of course, our ruby-throated, but also the black-chinned and rufous hummingbirds. Now, we could support those by putting out feeders, and if you do that, keep them up through the end of October or 2 weeks beyond your last sighting of a hummingbird. I prefer to let Mother Nature do the work, so I plant a variety of nectar-rich plants in the garden to support hummingbirds. These abelias here have been blooming nonstop all summer long, and they show no sign of stopping. They are visited by bees, butterflies, and of course, hummingbirds. I also have a variety of salvias planted throughout the landscape. These are beloved by hummingbirds as well as butterflies. And one of my favorite hummingbird plants for fall is the Turk's cap. I love those beautiful red blooms. And the plant is really hardy. It adapts to a variety of settings from shade to sun. If you're interested in learning more about wildlife gardening, the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation has some wonderful resources on their website. Well, thanks for visiting me in my home garden, and happy anniversary, Oklahoma Gardening.
Hello everyone, it's me again with another cool tool. Hi everyone, today I want to talk to you about some different types of countertop composting. So most of us are very familiar with just the bowl and the lid method. Well, there's also like this type of trash can that you can use, and you would put a filter in here, and then that would help filter out the odors. And then you have a little more decorative model like this one here. And this one actually has a container that you can remove, and then you can take all your scraps out to your backyard compost. But today I have a special, unique, new composter I'd like to show you. I say new, it's actually been on the market for several years now, but most people are not familiar with it. And this is a countertop electric composter or food reducer. So what this will do is we're going to fill it with our typical fruits and vegetables that you would after, you're composting anything. We're going to put that in here, and within hours, it's going to reduce it down to almost nothing. So let's get started. So what's great about this composter is that it accepts most of our ordinary food scraps. However, some of your scraps, like your celery, which is pretty fibrous, you'll probably want to cut into smaller size pieces before you put it into the compost container here. Potatoes are also one that you would want to slice up into some smaller pieces. And you don't want to fill this with just like carbohydrate kind of potatoes, starchy foods, breads, that sort of thing. Bananas, you want to slice those up, get those into some smaller chunks. If you're like me and you love mushrooms, but you forget you bought them and they go bad, just cut those up, add those to your little composter bin here. Tomatoes are another one that you would want to slice up because you don't want this big piece of fruit in your composter. And then we have like the stickers that come on some of our fruits. You want to make sure you peel those stickers off before you put those, the fruit into the compost. And you don't want to put the pit, no peach pits or cherry pits or that sort of thing in your composter. So we're just going to cut that up as well. Okay, and then like me, you may have some old lettuce, so you can just put that in there, or salad. Coffee grounds, you can even put coffee grounds in. So what I do is I just take my little Keurig pod, take a knife, gently cut around the edges of it, take that foil off, and then I would just dump my grounds in here, and it actually has a paper filter in there that will go in here as well. And then you can use this little pod since it already has a hole in the bottom, and you can start seeds in here. So the last thing I'm going to talk about putting in here, which is very unusual, and we always say you don't add meat, you don't add dairy to a compost. Well, with this system, you can add meat and you can add dairy. The reason we don't normally add meat or dairy into an outdoor compost system is because that attracts animals, and you don't want the animals rummaging through your compost system. So here, I'm going to put shrimp in, I'm going to put some carrots, and I'm going to put some leftover chicken nachos. Okay, now you want to fill this to the line. You don't want to overfill this container. So we are just about there, so let's go ahead and put some apple slices in there and some more lettuce. Okay, so now we're ready to just put the lid on, and I'll show you where to lock it into place. Push the start button. The first cycle this is going to go through is a drying cycle. And so it's going to dry down all that moisture that's in these vegetables and the fruits that's in here. And then it's going to go through a grinding cycle. And during the drying and the grinding, this machine is heating up. And so I noticed that here on the side where the filter is, it does get a little warm, and there's a little bit of kind of a moisture coming out of here. So I would turn this just slanted a little bit away from the wall so it's not directly blowing on the wall. Now this is your biocarbon filter, and so that's what's going to keep the odor down. And I noticed when I ran this yesterday that there really isn't much of an odor coming out of this. So after it's done the drying, the grinding, it will go through a cooling period. This is going to take about 4 hours. And afterwards, your final product is going to look like this. Now this is what you're going to take out to your garden, and you're going to just sprinkle it around your plants, and you can bury it. And when the plants are ready to take in nutrients and the soil needs nutrients, the microbial activity will start taking place, and that will break this down even further and provide those nutrients for your plants. So if you're intrigued, you live in an apartment, or you don't have that much compost to do, I suggest this little cool tool right here, which is the Countertop electric composter.
For more information, check out this fact sheet.
Today I wanted to show you our sensory garden that we have here at the Botanic Garden in case you have never had the opportunity to come up here and visit. And a couple of the things I want to show you are some of the rooms that we have. Each room plays up one of the senses. So what I'm walking through right now is the sight room, and you can see all the different color that the coleus, the calocarpa, the beautyberry that's putting on right now. So all of that adds a nice color into the garden to create that sight room for us. Now this room that we're in here is our tasting room. So we've got different plants that sort of play up that sense of taste, including the variegated ginger, the pineapple that we have here behind me, as well as the fig. Now one of the things about this sensory garden is that we also have hardscape that sort of plays up the different attributes. So as you notice, I move from one room to another, there is shade that casts over me. And so we have trellises that sort of cue to somebody who may be visually impaired that the room and the space is changing. So you'll feel that with a temperature change as you're going through here, as well as the light difference. The other thing is we have pavers here on the ground that are different. So somebody who may be visually impaired, again, would pick up on that cue that the texture is changing as you go into that new space. Now this is our tactile room that we have here. And so there's a lot of different plants that have different textures and feels to them. So a couple of them that I want to mention is the Mexican sage that looks great this time of year in the fall with its purple flowers, but it has a very fuzzy sort of flower as well as a velvety leaf to it. Now next to it here is the Norfolk Island pine, and if you touch it, it has kind of a braided feel to it that almost feels plastic. We have a few other plants here, including our oregano that has a braided flower, but you wouldn't want to touch it right now because it's covered with bees, in fact. But this is a good clue as we lead into our next room, which is the smell room. Now, smell is a pretty easy room to do with a garden because we have so many different herbs that you can add in, as well as flowering plants that have a nice fragrance. But one of the best plants I think to add is this plant here, which is our popcorn plant. It is tropical, but if you rub the foliage on it, it releases the smell of buttered popcorn. It really makes you want to go to the movies. So we have a lot of different plants in here, and we have one more room that is our sound room. And some of the plants that we've used to include in that to kind of play up that sense is seed heads that maybe rustle in the wind, or some grasses that sort of rustle in the wind as they're blowing. So one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight this garden is because while our garden here represents the 5 senses, the external senses, recently the American Horticulture Society just came out with a manual on how to create a youth sensory garden. And it actually includes 3 internal senses as well. And those include self-regulation, balance, and movement. Today, joining me also in the garden is Dylan with Shape Your Future. And if anybody knows about movement in the garden, it's you guys, right?
Yes, and you know, this space is wonderful. This is the kind of thing that we love to promote with Shape Your Future. It's all about creating moments throughout the day to reconnect with nature or just get some movement along. And at shapeyourfutureok.com, we have some great free resources, whether that is getting out in the garden more. We have recipes that they can use fresh herbs with. We also have free guides to get the kids excited about being outside, being out in the outdoors, getting a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about what y'all offer, is because a lot of times people don't know where to start with gardening, right? So you got some of the basics that are on there as well. And you partner with a lot of different people to make sure that things like this are accessible to everyone. Can you tell us a little bit about some of that?
Yes, so we actually brought you all to the New View Garden.
I know, that was an obvious one, right, for sensory.
Yes. And so that garden was actually built for people who are blind or visually impaired. And that's all thanks to TSET, the Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust, which Shape Your Future is a program of. So we are a grant-making agency, and we love to partner with agencies and communities around the state to ensure everyone has equal access to gardens and outdoor spaces.
That's terrific, Dylan, and I agree. Let's get everybody out in the garden. So again, where can everybody find more information about this?
ShapeYourFutureOK.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dylan. There are a lot of great horticulture activities this time of year. Be sure and consider some of these events in the weeks ahead.
Join us right here on Oklahoma Gardening as we're closing out our season next week.
Okay, say clue.
Clue. It's a pretty good clue as to you're entering into the next room.
To find out more information about show topics as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure to visit our website at oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. Join in on Facebook and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. Tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater gem. We would like to thank our generous underwriters, the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, and Shape Your Future, a program of the Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust. Additional support is also provided by Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, the Oklahoma Horticulture Society, the Tulsa Garden Club, and the Tulsa Garden Center.